Welcome back to the deep dive. You sent us a really complex stack of sources, articles, internal research, some pretty dense strategic forecasts, and we are here to give you the strategic shortcuts you need. And today, we're not talking about AI as, a simple tool or some glorified chatbot. We're well past that. We're diving headfirst into what the sources are calling the agentic economy. The shift it's profound. AI has moved past being a thing you prompt and into this autonomous digital coworker, something that can run complex end-to-end workflows across multiple systems.
That's exactly right. If you've felt like the pace of technology has gone from just fast to absolutely frantic in the last year, well, these sources basically confirm that feeling. And this deep dive is so necessary because the global job market, the entire architecture of enterprise, it's all being reshaped. And the timeline isn't 5 years out, it's 2026. The whole game is shifting from just typing command, what we call prompt engineering, to managing these huge integrated systems, orchestration, and that's already deciding who wins.
Right. The era of just crafting a better question, that whole artisanal prompt engineering thing,
Oh, that's over.
it's officially over. That skill is a commodity now. The value has moved completely to system design, to integrated orchestration, and that needs a whole new kind of professional.
So our mission today is to cut through all that noise and really define this new agentic era. We're going to look at how fast it's being adopted, what the surprising barriers are, and what that means for the workforce. We'll dig into this staggering $80 billion AI investment in banking, for instance.
80 billion.
Yeah, and we'll look at why, even with all that money, so many AI projects are still forecast to fail. And, crucially, we're going to dissect how high-value jobs are being redefined. We'll tell you why the term entry-level jobs is becoming a misnomer, and we'll introduce you to this booming, highly lucrative new role, the AI Orchestrator.
Okay, let's unpack this then. We've all seen hype cycles before. So, is agentic AI still something that's, living in the innovation lab? Or have these sources shown that it's actually crossed the chasm and become the central strategy for big global companies? Because the numbers you're hinting at suggest it's mandatory now, not some cool pilot project you can skip.
It is definitively a mandate. And the data shows this shift is happening at the C-suite level. I mean, AI is now a top 3 strategic priority for 74% of global enterprises.
74%.
Think about what that number means. 3/4 of the biggest organizations in the world see this as critical to their survival.
Yeah.
It's up there with, cost cutting or expanding into new markets.
And that's a big jump from last year.
A huge jump, 14 points year over year. That tells you AI has moved squarely out of the experimentation budget and into the core capital plan. It's directly influencing competitiveness, market position, the whole cost structure of the business.
So we've really crossed the Rubicon. It's gone from cautious exploration to there's a real expectation of value now. But what about the other 25%, the companies that are still dragging their feet?
They're facing what the sources are calling the laggard risk, and it's immediate and it's accumulating. That group, it's about 21% of firms, they're in a really critical spot. Because if your competitors are speeding up their workflows, cutting overhead, making better decisions with these agents, you just can't compete. Not on price, not on speed, not on accuracy.
Especially in certain industries, I'd imagine.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Especially in places with high operational costs like finance, which we'll get into. The bottom line is budgets are rising, timelines are getting shorter, and everyone is pushing aggressively towards production.
And this isn't just a theoretical commitment, right? The sources suggest we're seeing a massive shift from just being curious to actual formalized rollouts.
Absolutely. The move to production is already happening, and it's speeding up. A major survey confirms that 65% of organizations are moving from just experimenting with AI agents to formal pilots and pre-production. But the really striking data point, the one about architectural commitment, it comes from Gartner. They're forecasting one of the steepest adoption curves in the history of enterprise tech. They predict that 40% of all enterprise applications will have AI agents embedded by 2026.
40% of enterprise apps in just a year or two, up from under 5% now?
Exactly.
That's a tectonic shift. It means the very foundation of corporate tech is changing. So how does embedding an agent actually change the DNA of an app?
It changes it from a static, database-driven thing into a dynamic reasoning system. Before, the app just sat there, waiting for a human to do something, fetch data, start a workflow. With an embedded agent, the system becomes proactive. It can understand context, it can spot anomalies, it can autonomously kick off other workflows, and coordinate across all these other siloed apps.
So the software of the future isn't a passive tool,
Yeah.
it's an active participant.
Exactly. An active reasoning element that's managing tasks.
Yeah.
And as that becomes the standard, you absolutely need robust governance observability, which is exactly what these orchestration platforms provide.
Okay, but there's a huge catch here that the sources are calling the ROI paradox. We're seeing this enormous investment. It's a huge strategic priority, but a lot of firms are only seeing these modest gains, 10, maybe 15%. That is way short of the 30 to 50% projections we were hearing a year ago. So why the gap? If this is so revolutionary, why are the first returns so underwhelming?
That gap is a perfect symptom of the orchestration gap, and frankly, some managerial caution. A lot of the first AI deployments are just point solutions. They're tools operating in silos. So they might successfully, say, generate an insight or draft an email, but they fail to integrate that output back into the system to drive the whole business outcome from start to finish.
Right. So if I just use AI to draft one email, I save 15 minutes. That's my 10 to 15% gain. But what does the 200% return look like? What's the difference between an isolated tool and a truly orchestrated agent?
The difference is autonomous execution across systems. A fully orchestrated agent handles the entire life cycle of a problem. So imagine a complex customer ticket comes in, the agent reads the email, it checks the CRM for their account history, it drafts a legally compliant response tailored to that customer's tier,
Okay.
then it updates the record in the ERP, triggers a notification in Slack to the right sales rep, and schedules a follow-up in their calendar, all without a human touching it until a key decision is needed.
That is true end-to-end outcome delivery.
Precisely. And when AI agents are deployed to handle these multi-step stateful end-to-end tasks, that is when the returns are maximized. We have data from programs delivering a stunning 210% ROI and with less than a 6-month payback.
Wow.
That difference between 15% and 210 is all about coordination, integration, and orchestration. It proves the value isn't just in the intelligence, it's in the coordinated system.
And that desire for full orchestration leads us straight into the biggest barrier the sources point to, the interoperability crisis. An agent is only as good as its ability to plug into everything else.
This is the single biggest point of friction. The agents are smart, but they are utterly useless if they can't seamlessly connect to the operational infrastructure.
Yeah.
The proprietary databases, the legacy CRMs, the ERPs, ticketing systems, Slack, email, all of it. A study confirms that an overwhelming 87% of IT executives rated interoperability as very important or crucial for this to work.
And if they can't connect, the whole project just fails. The agent can't get the data it needs. It can't trigger the next step.
Exactly. A lack of interoperability is the second biggest reason pilots fail, right after just bad data quality. And this is made worse by what 63% of executives called platform sprawl.
Too many tools that don't talk to each other.
Way too many. And this whole situation, this friction, is directly contributing to a really devastating forecast that over 40% of agentic AI projects are forecast to be canceled by 2027.
A 40% failure rate for strategic projects that's massive. That's billions of dollars down the drain and a huge loss of competitive momentum. So the key takeaway here for you listening isn't just use AI, it's that success hinges on choosing platforms with native integrations, open APIs, and real orchestration. If you don't solve the connection problem first, you're basically setting yourself up for failure. Okay, this high failure rate due to integration problems brings us perfectly to the human side of all this, specifically the job market. If 40% of projects are failing because systems can't talk to each other, you desperately need a new skill set to bridge that gap. But first, let's talk about what's being displaced. The sources are crystal clear. The specialized, highest-paying skill of 2023, prompt engineering, is now a commodity.
That is the uncomfortable truth. Anyone who bet their whole career on being an artisanal prompt craftsman, they need to face this. That primitive era of trial and error prompting is over.
Why? Just because the models got so much better?
Exactly. The models have become so competent that the bottleneck has totally shifted. It's no longer about asking a better question to get a better answer. It's about designing the larger system that governs how the model acts on that answer across the entire company.
So all those techniques like few-shot learning, chain of thought, the things that made a prompt engineer a unicorn 2 years ago,
What are you about?
they're just expected now. Like knowing how to use a spreadsheet.
They are absolutely table stakes. They're a fundamental expected skill, like knowing SQL if you're an analyst or being able to type quickly in the 90s. You won't get hired because you can prompt well, but you will definitely be passed over if you can't. The value has completely shifted away from crafting an input string to architecting these sophisticated self-optimizing systems that can scale.
And this rapid obsolescence of a high-paying skill has created a brand new, even higher value role, the agent orchestrator. What exactly is this role? Why is it so essential now?
This person is the new architect of automated value in the enterprise. They manage the machine. They are the ones who design these integrated teams of humans and digital bots to automate entire high-value workflows. And crucially, they operate at a systems level, often without writing traditional code. They look at a complex process, say, fraud review, and they define exactly what the AI agents are allowed to do, how they collaborate, and what guardrails they operate within. It's like managing a hybrid workforce.
And the salaries really confirm this is where the premium value is now.
The difference is staggering. It confirms the whole value shift. The market for prompt engineers is now flooded. Salaries are going down, $60,000 and $90,000 as it becomes a general skill. But the agent orchestrator role is commanding a massive premium. They're typically starting at 130 to 180,000 plus.
And they're not getting paid that much because they know a good prompt. They're getting paid because they deliver solutions, like automating a whole department, instead of just generating tasks, like a single piece of text.
Exactly. They solve multi-million-dollar business problems. And their core responsibilities really reflect that high-level systems thinking expertise. First, they do detailed workflow mapping. They can't just describe a process, they have to formally break it down, often using things like BPMN, to define every single step, every decision gate, every data dependency.
So they're workflow designers first, AI experts second.
Precisely. Second, they handle tool connection. This means using these orchestration frameworks to link the agent securely and reliably to real-world tools, email, ERPs, Excel, Slack. They have to understand the entire API landscape of the business. Third is governance. They set up the guardrails to make sure agents don't hallucinate or operate outside their scope or leak private data. This is absolutely critical in regulated industries. And finally, change leadership. They're responsible for making sure the human teams actually trust the agents, for overseeing the transition and managing that inevitable human resistance to automation.
And we're already seeing this role become formalized, right, with actual certifications.
The industry is institutionalizing it very quickly. The sources point to things like the NVIDIA Certified Professional and Agentic AI, the NCP AII. This kind of certification validates that someone can actually architect, develop, deploy, and govern these solutions in production. It confirms the industry needs proven, scalable expertise, not just theory.
Okay, let's pivot now to what many analysts are calling the most severe downside of this shift. It's creating a real crisis for people just entering the workforce. The sources call it the crisis of the missing rung.
This is probably the most difficult structural change happening right now. It's much more complex than just job displacement. AI agents are mastering what some call grunt work, the digital grunt work, that has always been the paid education for junior employees.
So basic code generation, summarizing meetings, drafting standard emails, data entry, all that stuff.
All of it. That low-value output that the firm needed, which also served as this kind of subsidized on-the-job training where juniors learn the ropes, it's being automated away.
So companies no longer have a financial reason to pay for that learning period because the machine does it faster and cheaper.
Correct. The learning curve itself is being automated. And that raises the minimum level of competency you need to be valuable from day one. If an AI agent performs at the level of a junior with 2 years of experience, a true novice is now seen as having negative value. They still need tons of supervision, but their output isn't better than the software.
And the impact on the entry-level job market is already stark. We can measure it.
It is, especially in the knowledge economy. We're seeing data that entry-level tech job postings in the U.S. have just plummeted by 67% in some key areas, like junior development or data analysis. And what's more, the very term entry-level is becoming a joke because of experience inflation. Analyses are showing that 35% of jobs labeled entry-level now require prior experience. And that number balloons to over 60% in fields like software and IT. They're asking for 3+ years of experience for an entry-level job.
It creates a complete catch-22. You need the experience to get the job, but the job you would have taken to get that experience, it doesn't exist anymore because an AI is doing it.
It is a severe structural bottleneck for new graduates.
Yeah.
And the few jobs being created are highly specialized. They demand judgment, verification skills, seniority, Roles like the agent orchestrator, these are completely inaccessible to the people being displaced because they require the tacit knowledge that only comes from years of experience.
But there is this counter-narrative you hear, often called super agency, the idea that juniors, since they're digital natives, are actually the best AI users. They use the agents to leapfrog the skills gap and perform at a mid-level. They're super amplified.
And that is absolutely supported by the usage data. One study shows that over 55% of early career developers use AI tools daily. That's a much higher adoption rate than their senior colleagues. In fact, they're often the ones teaching the seniors how to use the tools. It's flipping the mentorship model. The junior teaches the senior the mechanics of the tool, and the senior teaches the junior the judgment needed to verify the output.
But that pivot creates what the sources are calling the editor problem, which sounds like a massive strategic risk. Can you walk us through what that actually looks like in a high-stakes situation?
The editor problem is the systemic risk you get when a super productive but inexperienced junior is responsible for signing off on huge amounts of AI-generated work. They achieve this super agency by producing, say, 500 lines of complex compliance kit in minutes, or drafting a critical financial risk summary. But they lack the deep tacit knowledge, the experience of seeing what happens when that code fails in production, or when that summary is missing one critical footnote to actually verify its accuracy.
So the cognitive load has shifted. It's moved from the hard task of creation to the even harder and more senior task of verification.
Precisely. Verification is an inherently senior task. A senior developer has spent a decade learning the subtle security flaws an AI might miss. A seasoned lawyer knows the one clause the agent might omit that exposes the firm to millions in liability. The junior, without that baseline knowledge, might just approve an AI's hallucination or a flawed design because they don't know enough to challenge the machine. And this creates a really dangerous bottleneck where the speed of output dramatically outpaces the company's ability to verify the quality. It's why 46% of developers distrust the accuracy of the output, even while 84% are using the tools every single day. The editor problem means the new entry-level job requires expert-level judgment from day one. What's really fascinating here is that finance isn't just playing with AI. They are leading the charge globally, both in how fast they're deploying it and how much they're spending. And this is driven by two main things: really strict, constantly changing regulations, and just massive, entrenched operational overhead from all their legacy processes. The risk of getting something wrong in finance is so high, which makes these deterministic, auditable agents incredibly valuable.
Right, they aren't just experimenting, they are putting their massive balance sheets behind this. What does that investment actually look like in
Right.
terms of scale?
The scale is immense. IDC is forecasting that total AI spend in banking will go over $80 billion in 2025. And this isn't just going into some peripheral IT project. This is for major infrastructure upgrades, secure cloud platforms, governance tools, and for deep applied intelligence in core banking functions. High-speed risk modeling, document processing, and most importantly, these enterprise-wide agentic workflows.
So where exactly is that 80 billion going beyond just, scanning documents better?
The key drivers are these functions with huge operational friction. Things like real-time fraud monitoring, complex loan reviews, those constant exhaustive KYC and AML checks, and dynamic regulatory reporting. The sources are calling financial services firms frontier firms. They're the ones aggressively embedding AI agents across every single workflow, and they're reporting returns about 3 times higher than the slower adopters. Their regulated environment demands agents that are auditable, deterministic, and tightly integrated, which is forcing them to solve that interoperability crisis much faster than other sectors.
Okay, to give our listeners a really tangible example of that 210% ROI, let's look at one function that's being completely revolutionized: accounts payable, or AP. This is a classic end-to-end workflow that's just ripe for this kind of transformation.
AP is a textbook case of moving beyond that old, rigid, rule-based automation. Traditional automation relies on these static, predefined rules. If X happens, then do Y. That system completely breaks down when you hit an exception, or a complex tax code, or a mismatched purchase order. Agentic AI, on the other hand, uses adaptive learning. It can handle complex scenarios like advanced payment matching, dynamic approvals, exception handling, all without a human having to reprogram it. It adapts to the data.
So how does agentic AI specifically lift AP from just a clerical function to a strategic, even touchless operation?
It optimizes several key steps and coordinates them into one unified process. First, you have automated invoice processing. Agents use high-accuracy OCR combined with machine learning to extract and validate all the line item data from any format: PDF, email, and image, which cuts data entry errors to almost zero. Second, advanced payment matching is totally revolutionized. Agents use predictive algorithms to reconcile invoices with purchase orders and contracts. They can instantly spot discrepancies based on set tolerance levels, and they only flag the true exceptions for a human to look at.
And it handles all the nuances that used to require a highly trained accountant to manually intervene.
Precisely. Third, you get automated invoice coding. The agents use predictive analytics based on historical data to suggest and apply the correct general ledger codes, cost centers, all of that, which makes reporting much more consistent. And finally, intelligent workflows. The AI-driven system optimizes the whole approval flow, routing invoices dynamically based on the amount, the vendor's compliance history, who needs to sign off. It ensures continuous compliance automatically.
We've got some great concrete case studies that really illustrate this. Let's start with Logitech and their straight-through processing metric.
Logitech is a perfect example of this operational payoff. Before this, their AP process had multiple human handoffs, manual checks. It was slow and full of errors. By orchestrating the whole process with AI, they achieved an incredible 83% straight-through processing, or STP.
For our listeners, what does 83% STP actually mean in practice?
It means that 83% of their invoices flow from the moment they're received to the final payment without a single human touching them. No intervention, no correction. And the really crucial part is the strategic impact. They handled a huge increase in workload from business growth without hiring more people. They also got 100% control and visibility, so no more invoices getting lost on someone's desk.
That's a staggering operational win. What about Superdry? They focused on removing the touch points entirely.
Right, Superdry had a similar problem with too much manual intervention. They managed to increase their touchless processing from just 5% to 80%, and the value wasn't just in cost savings. The sources really emphasize that by reducing the need for staff to do simple processing, they could redeploy those people to more strategic, high-value roles. Things like supplier relationship management or strategic cost analysis. They effectively upgraded their human capital.
And then there's Primark, dealing with a super complex global supply chain. They had a specific logistics challenge tied to their financial processes.
That's right. Primark used advanced matching to deal with all the complexities of invoicing and goods receipt in their supply chain, and they achieved a near-perfect 98% match rate. That high accuracy sped up customs clearance and dramatically cut their demurrage costs. Those are the fines you pay when ships or containers get delayed in port. So it shows that the impact of agentic AP goes way beyond just internal bookkeeping. It has real measurable benefits across the entire operating model.
And beyond just accounts payable, AI is also fundamentally changing the more strategic functions of forecasting, risk analysis, and compliance across finance.
Yes, starting with forecasting. Traditional financial models were always limited by structured, internal data. AI enhances cash flow prediction and scenario planning because it can integrate real-time analysis of huge, unstructured data sets, market sentiment, supply chain delays, even weather patterns. We're seeing examples like the retailer Carrefour cutting stockouts by 20% using AI demand forecasting. Or Skanska, the big construction firm, minimizing financial risks on massive projects by using predictive analytics to forecast cost overruns with much higher accuracy.
And given the intense focus on security, how is AI being used in risk and compliance?
In risk management, AI automates transaction analysis. It can identify fraud patterns and anomalies that a human reviewer or even a rules-based system could never spot in real time across millions of data points. Barclays, for instance, has significantly strengthened its security with AI-driven alerts. For compliance, AI is essential. It strengthens internal controls through automation and dynamic regulatory adaptation. It ensures you're always adhering to constantly changing standards like IFRS or SOX. It allows firms to automatically update their processes as regulations change, which provides this incredible resilience against operational and legal risks.
So what does this aggressive adoption really mean for the tools we're all using every day? The whole definition of enterprise software seems to be changing. It sounds like we can finally say goodbye to that monolithic software suite where one vendor controlled everything.
That monolithic approach, where the vendor's whole strategy was to lock you into their ecosystem through stickiness, is under severe threat. The sources call it the SaaS disruption. Traditional platforms were built so that the more you did inside their walls, the higher the cost of switching became. But AI agents thrive on interoperability. They operate across platforms. They'll pull data from an ERP, analyze it with some specialized model, then execute an action in the CRM.
The agent itself becomes the intelligent glue layer that connects everything.
Exactly. The agent is the unifying intelligence above the applications.
Hmm.
And the numbers back this up. Over 80% of enterprise leaders believe AI agents actually reduce their switching costs by providing that independent intelligence layer. This is deep trouble for any platform-centric SaaS vendor whose whole value was proprietary lock-in. When the agent starts owning the outcome, not just facilitating the input, the value of software shifts entirely to the quality of the orchestration. And this necessity has led directly to what people are calling agent stacks. These are replacing the old monolithic suite. An agent stack is basically a high-order conductor agent that's overseeing an orchestra of specialized domain-specific agents that coordinate across all your tools.
So it's an architecture, not just a single tool.
Precisely. Think of Informatica's Claire engine. It acts as that conductor, powering all these specific agents that handle data ingestion, quality check analysis, all across different systems.
This shift is also redefining development itself. It's moving past the last big trend, which was low code, no code. So is low code dead?
Low code as we knew it is definitely evolving. It's being replaced by what's called AI augmented development. It's a convergence of AI capabilities with these visual development environments. It's not that platforms are disappearing. It's that you're now using AI to generate the solution instantly, and then using the low-code framework to ensure governance, scalability, and visual refinement.
If I remember the old low code, I had to manually drag and drop components, map out the data flow, configure the security. How does this new AI augmented development change that?
It makes natural language the new interface. Instead of dragging components, you just describe what you need in plain English. Tools like the App Builder agent in Microsoft 365 Copilot are a great example. You describe your needs, say, I want a secure inventory dashboard that tracks stock levels and notifies me if anything dips below a 10-day supply. And the agent instantly generates the complete application UI, the data schema, the security model, and connects it all to the underlying system.
So a business user is defining the function, and the AI is immediately generating the architecture.
Precisely. And this intelligence isn't just at the beginning. It's embedded across the whole development lifecycle. It's full lifecycle intelligence. So in the design phase, AI suggests the best architecture. During development, it gives you real-time code suggestions. In testing, AI agents automatically generate test scenarios. And in deployment, it handles intelligent monitoring and can often auto-remediate issues before they even cause a problem. The result is this hybrid team where developers are elevated from being simple coders to being AI conductors and system architects.
And to build these complex systems, the agent orchestrator needs tools, these multi-agent orchestration frameworks. This market is huge, right? Expected to be over $54 billion by 2030. Let's break down the three leading philosophies behind these frameworks because the choice you make really dictates the success of the project.
Right, these frameworks are built for specific kinds of complex workflows, and understanding the architectural trade-offs between them is the key skill for an orchestrator.
Okay, first up, tell us about Crew AI.
Crew AI emphasizes role-based collaboration. It uses this really intuitive, workplace-inspired metaphor. Agents have defined roles, like a researcher agent or an analyst agent, with specific responsibilities and tools. This structured team setup makes coordination very intuitive for a human. Its real strength is in task parallelization and speed. Because it's so structured, it's incredibly efficient. It's been reported to be up to 5 or 6 times faster in some benchmarks than other architectures.
So you choose Crew AI when your project maps neatly onto an org chart and speed is the top priority.
Exactly. It's the highly efficient assembly line approach. Now, contrast that with LangGraph. LangGraph uses graph-based workflows. It treats every agent interaction and state change as nodes and edges in a graph. This gives the orchestrator exceptional granular control over conditional logic, branching paths, and managing these stateful, really complex pipelines. And because its architecture explicitly tracks the system's state, where it is in the process, what happened before, it's perfect for production environments where you need reliability and complexity.
And what's the technical advantage of that graph-based approach for a big enterprise?
It provides massive scalability. LangGraph is used widely in production at major companies because it can handle huge traffic for complex asynchronous operations. It's been reported to handle over 10,000 concurrent interactions with sub-millisecond latency. So it's the go-to choice if you're building a secure production-grade fortress, a system that has to process thousands of adaptive compliance checks at the same time without dropping any data.
So you use LangGraph for complex orchestration with critical decision points and massive scale. And finally, there's AutoGen from Microsoft, which takes a more conversational approach.
Autogen is really focused on conversational multi-agent interactions. It models collaboration like a dynamic group chat. The agents converse, they critique each other, they build on each other's responses, which gives you maximum flexibility. Its strength is in being iterative and ideal for workflows that need a lot of human-in-the-loop oversight.
Okay, so if Crew AI is the assembly line and LangGraph is the secure fortress, Autogen is like the rapid conversational brainstorming session.
That's a great analogy. Autogen is fantastic for rapid prototyping or for review-heavy workflows, where the process itself needs to be flexible, not deterministic. The trade-off is often a bit less formal structure and slightly higher latency than a super-optimized Crew AI system, but you get incredible flexibility for iterative problem solving. And understanding these trade-offs, that's literally the difference between the $90,000 engineer and the $180,000 agent orchestrator. So if we connect this whole technical revolution back to the bigger picture, successful adoption hinges entirely on human readiness, process redesign, and especially robust governance. You can't just install these powerful agents and walk away. You have to manage them like critical employees.
You mentioned governance earlier, especially for high-stakes fields like finance or law or medicine, where full autonomy is just not acceptable because of the legal or physical risks. What's the mandatory solution for those workflows?
The solution is the human in the middle mandate, or HITL. This is a non-negotiable workflow where AI systems and humans collaborate, with the human actively involved at key decision points. Full autonomy, especially where life or massive financial loss is on the line, is often unacceptable. You have concerns about accuracy, transparency, accountability. The human provides that essential layer of ethical review and compliance.
So the workflow is deliberately built to insert a person at the most critical moment.
Exactly. The ideal workflow looks like this. Raw input goes to AI processing. Then it hits a human review for oversight and correction, which leads to a formal decision point where the human approves or overrides, and only then do you get the final output. This formal decision gate ensures that the workflow stays safe and ethical by weaving human judgment right into the process. And yes, HITL reduces scalability and speed compared to full automation, but is the only way to maintain human accountability and ensure the highest standards.
The rapid integration of AI also means we have to completely overhaul how organizations pay people. Traditional hourly pay structures seem fundamentally at odds with the whole goal of AI efficiency.
They are drastically misaligned. And this is a huge managerial challenge. Traditional pay structures unintentionally penalize efficiency. If an employee uses an AI agent to finish a report in 2 hours that used to take 8, they're creating way more value but getting paid the same. That leads to resistance. This disconnect is forcing organizations to shift very quickly to results-based pay compensating employees based on the defined outcomes they achieve and the productivity gains they get from using AI effectively.
That model makes the employee a partner in finding new efficiencies rather than a reluctant participant who is afraid for their job.
It creates that essential alignment of incentives. And what's more, this compensation shift is so fundamental that we're seeing new models emerge to quantify the value of the AI itself. We're seeing concepts like a digital salary, where companies price the AI agent as a cheaper employee. So if a human junior accountant costs $80,000 a year, the digital accountant might be budgeted at a $40,000 digital salary to clearly quantify the savings and justify the investment.
So if the workforce is being augmented by these sophisticated agents, what does that mean for talent development and training? The old career ladder is broken, but how do we build the new one?
Training has to move, fundamentally and rapidly, away from general AI literacy and towards systems thinking and agentic workflow design. The sources note that the required skills in this area are changing 66% faster than in other roles, which is leading to serious reskilling fatigue. We're seeing new professional pathways, like specialized AI apprenticeships, emerge to focus on deep skilling in production-grade systems, moving beyond basic coding to teaching orchestration, governance, and that inherently senior task of verification. The new requirement isn't a coding certificate, it's an agentic portfolio, where you can prove you made multiple AI agents collaborate to achieve a real business outcome.
Finally, we have to talk about the absolute necessity of responsible AI and governance. These autonomous agents are basically becoming digital employees, and you have to manage them like human staff.
Absolutely. Leaders have to treat these agents as employees that need dedicated identities, defined permissions, continuous monitoring, and auditable trails. Proactive compliance is an imperative, especially with IDC predicting there will be 1.3 billion AI agents active in business workflows by 2028. The complexity of integration is still a huge problem, especially with legacy systems that don't have modern APIs. The companies that are succeeding are the ones prioritizing platforms that ensure governance from day one and establish robust protocols.
And the sources highlight a really crucial contractual point about data ownership that executives need to be addressing right now.
This data ownership issue is paramount. It speaks directly to competitive advantage. Clients are demanding absolute control. They're insisting that their proprietary private operational data, their AP workflows, their customer interactions, must not be used to train the vendor's public models.
Right, to prevent their competitors from accidentally benefiting from their own hard-won business insights.
Exactly. So choosing platforms that offer native integrations, ensures strict data residency, and have clear protocols for managing risks like hallucination, which has to be audited by a human, that is a foundational requirement for success.
The organizational choice seems pretty clear then. Are you going to invest in the governance and orchestration you need to build systems that amplify human potential and deliver that 210% ROI? Or are you going to stay mired in the old, siloed software model that these agents are designed to disrupt and dissolve?
The challenge of integration complexity is still the primary hurdle. Success in this new era means strategically combining the incredible acceleration you get from AI with these robust governance frameworks, making sure you can reliably manage the new complexity that comes with a high-performing multi-agent system.
This deep dive really confirms that the agentic era isn't some forecast, it's the present reality. We've tracked these tectonic shifts from AI becoming a top strategic priority for three-quarters of global enterprises to the complete transformation of core functions like accounts payable, where orchestrated systems are delivering massive, quantifiable returns. The core skill you need to succeed has fundamentally changed. Prompt engineering is now a basic utility, while the high-value role of the agent orchestrator is booming, demanding advanced systems thinking and commanding salaries well over $130,000.
And this rapid transformation requires a fundamental change in how we view both talent and technology. The software playbook is being rewritten by these agent stacks, which are dissolving the stickiness of the old monolithic SaaS suites. At the same time, traditional low-code development is being replaced by natural language interfaces that instantly generate complex, secure applications. Success in this future really hinges on embracing that human-in-the-middle mandate and critically shifting compensation models to reward efficiency and outcomes, not just hours worked.
It's an overwhelming amount of structural change, but it's all intensely focused on the problem of coordination.
Indeed. The new core competency isn't how well you can talk to the machine. It's how well you can manage it, govern it, and orchestrate it across these complex business landscapes. If you are preparing for 2026, you have to recognize that expertise gained the old way is a depreciating asset. It requires constant renewal, especially as the traditional learning curve, all that grunt work, is being automated away, creating that systemic editor problem for anyone who lacks verification experience. So the question you have to urgently ask yourself is this. Are you focused on perfecting the skills that the AI is automating, or are you aggressively acquiring the skills required to architect and orchestrate the AI itself? Because the traditional career ladder is definitively broken, but a new high-speed elevator is being built, only for those who know how to find and press the orchestration button.